Hello everyone. Uh, in this audio class, we are going to see the constitutional changes that happened or that took place just after the Sepoy Mutiny as a result of the Sepoy Mutiny. So, in the last class, we have studied about the social changes. That point A is about constitutional changes, point B is about social changes, which are the results of Sepoy Mutiny. So social changes we have already discussed, point B I have already discussed in the last audio. Now we will discuss point A because point A is more detailed one, and it links up with the next part of the chapter. So the terrible jolt of the Sepoy Mutiny created a sense of sharp abhorring towards the English East India Company in the minds of people of England. So they were anxious about the perplexity of the Indians, their sufferings, growing sense of distrust towards the foreign rule, and terrible acts of killing due to attack and counterattacks reflected through the rebellion. So see here, as a result of the revolt, the Britishers or the people in Britain itself, they wanted to know that what are in the minds of Indian people. Why are they revolting? Okay, why are the Indians not trusting the British? Why are they not trusting the British rule? If they do not trust in this way, it will not be possible for the British to rule in India smoothly. Okay, and the British, they always wanted a smooth rule because they have other things to do in India to procure or to derive more profits from the land in their trade activities. So in order to keep that part of their business safe, they need to satisfy the people of India now. That means but that is not satisfaction to that extent. It was not exactly for the good of the people of India. It was exactly, or it was only for the good of themselves. They wanted to remain secure, safe. That is why they introduced some new laws and policies in India. Okay, as a result of Sepoy Mutiny, they introduced some new rules, new administrative changes, just to make sure that the people do not rebel again. People think that the Britishers are not doing any distrustable things in India, not playing any games with the Indians, so that Indians feel it safe, so that they again do not revolt in this way. Understood? So, what kind of changes were brought? So, as the changes were brought, it was brought under a particular act, and this act is very important. The act is 1858 Act. Okay, it is the Government of India Act 1858. So, what was in that act? First thing is that the company, now the British company, was not in authority to rule India. Who was in authority to rule India? Directly the British Crown. The power directly got transferred to the British Crown. Understood? That means she from Britain will directly rule India now. The authority or power of taking decisions and all went to the Crown, and all the responsibilities and power relating to the administration of India, now it will be looked after by the Ministry of British, and the British ministry will look after all this. The company officials will not look after all this now. Okay, the minister directly associated with the administration of India came to be known as Secretary of State for India. You have to make sure this political positions in mind clearly. You need to make sure that after what act this kind of changes were done. Okay, from governor to governor general, the 1773 act was there to regulate this kind of changes. Okay, so now the Secretary of State for India is the main administrative head in India. Okay, he will look after the administration of India, and a council was formed with 15 members to assist the Secretary of State. So that Secretary of State for India will be assisted by other 15 members. And in this 15 membership, what is there? 8 will be from the British government side, and the other 7 members will be from the company. That means the British East India Company. They are members 7, and direct British government member, the English government member will be 8. Have you understood this? Company from the transfer of power from the company to the British crown is that earlier the company, that company who came for trade in India, they are British people itself. Okay, they tried to rule in India. They had the authority, they gained the authority or legal sanctionship to rule in India. But later on, due to these problems, their inefficiency in ruling, okay, they now have no direct powers to rule in India. It is the British government, the entire British government. Some bodies, council bodies were established here, so they will be looking after the administration now. Understood? The company will do the other trading activities, just in simple way you understand. And the other British officials, that means directly from the British crown, British ministry, British parliament, they have sent people in India to look after the administration, and these things will be reported to the British parliament in Britain. Understood? So that now the crown directly, the queen, crown means the Queen of England, will directly look after the administration of India. So this is one important change that took place after the 1858 act, or after the Sepoy mutiny. So, the Secretary of State for India that was newly appointed, he was to record, okay, he was to record all the happenings in India, okay, and those documents he need to submit in the British Parliament once a year. So, yearly he will record everything, every happenings in India, okay, in the Indian administration. So, he is required to submit that record, annual document you can say, to the British Parliament in Britain. So mm, as a result, what happened, there is a change in rule in the ruling system of India. The ruling system, the crown is looking after the entire administration of India now. And as we already know that there was the Governor General, okay, stationed in Bengal. He was the head of the Indian administrative system. So now he will be the Viceroy. Understand this change. Okay, now the Governor General will be termed as Viceroy. Earlier he was governor. Later on, under 1773 Act, he was Governor General. And now under the Government of India Act 1858, his position is renamed as Viceroy. And what does a Viceroy means? A Viceroy means a representative. Okay, this Viceroy will be representative of whom? The crown. So the Viceroy was, the Governor General's position was changed to Viceroy, and that Viceroy is representing the crown. He is not all in all ruler here now. He is just a representative of the crown. That means the Queen of England. Okay, he is representing British Empire here. So this act conferred upon the British government the power to appoint viceroy and provincial head governors, and also brought the army of the company under its control. So this every change now the crown is authorized to do. The British company in India, the company had no authority like before. Okay, all the authorities were in the hands of the crown, and the crown can make any kind of changes you want to rule in India. And under these new changes, that new positions were created. A Secretary of State for India, who is required to submit all records to the British Parliament. Okay, the new Viceroy position, as you say, and all officers comprising the council. Okay, Council of Ministers. their salary will not be directly sent from Britain. Their salaries will be procured or uh, given from the revenues of India. Understood? These changes were done, but these changes were not done at the cost of British. These changes were done ultimately at the cost of Indians only. Indians will have to pay revenue, and those parts of revenue will go to these British officers as revenue. Okay, sorry, as salary. So was the first Viceroy of India, Lord Canning, and he is known as the last Governor General. That means the position of Governor General was last ruled by the uh, Governor General Lord Canning, and his position was renamed as Viceroy. And he is the first Viceroy of India under Queen of England, Queen Victoria. That time Queen was Queen Victoria. And on 1st November 1858, grand Darbar was there in Allahabad, where Lord Canning first addressed himself as the Viceroy and declared that he is the representative of the Queen in India, and also that direct rule has been started in India from now onwards. All this declaration was done in the Darbar of Allahabad of 1858, 1st November. So, as a result, what happened? Why they declared all this? They thought that by doing all such changes, they are going to remove all kind of suspicions from the minds of Indian people, that Indian people were thinking that British are going to destroy our culture, British are going to impose very high taxes or impose very harsh difficulties upon us. All this kind of thinkings that were rooted in the minds of Indians, this kind of suspicions, all this, they Britishers wanted to remove it now. So new changes were brought. So what kind of other things were in minds of the people? They were afraid that Britishers, they are of different religion, and Indians, they are mostly Hindus, okay, or another group was Muslims. So they thought that by as the Britishers are Christians, they are going to harm our culture. Okay, they are attacking us because they are Christians and want us to be converted as Christians. So they are thinking that they are going to lose their culture. They are going to lose it. So as a result, the Britishers, they tried to remove this kind of suspicion also, that they are not going to do all such kind of things which create more suspicion in the minds of people. They are now trying to gain trust from the people. Okay, they are trying to gain trust from the people of India, because by gaining trust, they will at least be relaxed that people of India are trusting us and we can rule the country so smoothly now without any tensions now. So one more, that policy which was of great fear to mainly the rulers, doctrine of lapse, the Lord Canning also ensured that he is going to abandon this new policy, and also made sure that in future they are not going to expand their British empire this ruthlessly. And they also said that they will show some kind of generosity towards the native ruler. Native ruler means all those rulers who were still holding their empires in small proportions, maybe those are called native rulers. And comparatively the British, we cannot term them as native rulers. Other Indians, rulers who were ruling there, they are called native rulers. So the British said that we are not going to further expand the country, further expand our empire, but we are going to show generosity towards these native rulers. That means we will respect their position, we are not going to harm them. And one thing you see, that time during Sepoy Mutiny, it was not that every Indian, every one of people revolted. it was those people who were affected by the British policies, only they revolted. Okay, those who faced this kind of harsh treatment, they revolted. All the rulers did not come and join this revolt movement. So what the British did, it is very important thing. Just because some rulers remained loyal to the British, they did not harm the British or join the British against revolt. So what happened, these rulers were brought to or invited to this Allahabad Darbar and awarded. This was just to show that they remained loyal to the British. They were given awards, and these were Indian rulers who are getting awards. Britishers thought that by looking at this, other people will think that our Britishers are now settling the problems. They are giving our rulers awards. Okay, in this, they wanted to reflect their award giving function in this way, that they were not against Indian rulers now. Understood? So they selected only those ruler who did not revolt against the British. They were given awards, but the people of India did not analyzed it in this way, that they did not revolt. That is why they are giving awards. Okay, they, but on the other hand, saw it in this way, that these Indian rulers are getting awards. That means the British are not going to treat us so harshly from now onwards. So this kind of things, maybe to settle this kind of suspicion, British did all these kind of things, all these kind of uh, policies. Okay, in order to settle this issue, they did not want any kind of problems in the future in terms of their what to say, rule in. They did not want any kind of problem, because if any problem it comes from the people's side, it will delay their process of administration, or it will delay mainly their profit making business here. Understood? So they wanted, one thing is that by hook or by crook we need to settle these Indians, or otherwise they will create a big problem for us to rule, or for us to make profits out of here. So let's come to 1.5, direct rule of the Queen of England and second term of Viceroy Lord Canning. So first, his first term was as what, it was as Governor General, okay, under the company. See, he has Lord Canning has faced two kind of changes, mainly in his rule, okay, in his administration. Earlier he worked under the company, now he is working under the crown. Earlier he was the Governor General, and now he is the um, viceroy under the crown. Okay, understood this difference? So as the crown's viceroy, what are the changes in administration that was first and foremost bought during his reign, during his second phase of the administration? First thing is that he need to restore the economy. Okay, because during the rebellion the economy was worstly hit. The economy of the land was worstly hit, because once people started rebelling, no those who were engaged in production works earlier have now not being able to work, because they were busy in this process, entire revolting process. So economy was hit hard. Okay, so he invited financial expert. Who are the financial expert? James Wilson and Samuel. Okay, James Wilson and Samuel was invited to India, who looked after the matter of India, that means post rebellion matter of India, and forwarded some suggestions to Lord Canning how the economy can be revived. So one important thing is that income taxes were imposed for the first time in India during this period. Lord Canning was the person to impose income tax. Prior to this, there was no income tax. Okay, people got their salaries or people got their wages, but they did not need to pay any kind of tax to the government. That means, based on income, no kind of tax was there to be paid in the government. Okay, tax was there, it is not that tax was not there, but I'm saying about income tax. Whatever is my income, I don't need to pay any kind of tax to the government or based on my income earlier, but now from now onwards income taxes were introduced. And as we know, we pay income tax, uh, who used to get high salaries. Okay, even today, people those who have high salaries, they need to, one fixed point is there, if above that limit someone gets salary, they need to pay income tax to the government. So now that point of time also, what was the particular fixed salary from which they need to pay income? It is 500 rupees. Okay, 500 rupees salary, those who got 500 rupees as salary or more than that, they need to pay income tax, because that time 500 was a huge amount. Okay, the value of money has increased now, maybe in future it will be increased more. As we get rice today, starting from maybe 35 40 kilos, in future maybe that basic, that minimum range will change to 100 to 200 to thousands. In future maybe it will be thousands. Okay, so value of money always increases. So here also the value of money was less, the value of and the money was less. People got things in lesser price because there was huge supplies. Maybe during that period, I think you all know about economics, uh, how the economy work, at least basic knowledge you have. When you have huge supplies of something, then you don't need to pay a huge amount. Okay, demand is comparatively less than the supplies, then you don't need to pay a huge amount. But when the supplies of things are less, okay, and your demand is more high, more people are demanding the same thing, so we need to pay a huge amount to gain that particular thing. I'm just giving this value of money knowledge just to understand this thing, because why salary was 500 during that time. So salary was 500 during that time, and it was not only 500, even less than that, even 200 was a huge amount of salary during that time. Okay, even getting 10 rupees or 50 rupees maybe as wage for their laborers was a huge amount, like getting 10,000 in today's period. So getting 5,000 sorry 500 is was a huge amount, and the person who got 500 need to pay income taxes now. So another taxes were imposed. Now see, import duty taxes. Import duties of 10% on all imported commodities. Whatever commodities that were imported from outside to India, they need to pay 10% duties. That means the product of the commodity is suppose X, and 10% of this X will have to be paid as duties to the uh, government, to the British government. So I'm just giving a rough idea of these taxes and all. In details, if you study of what is 10% of what, it maybe you will know it better. So I'm just giving a rough idea for you to understand. You don't need to know what percent of what is what. So just you need to know that 10% was imposed upon the imported commodities, and income taxes, fixed price of the income was 500 rupees. These are the things you need to know. Okay, Other taxes were like imposed on tobacco that was produced in the country. Bengal Rent Act was introduced 1859, because prior to this the permanent settlement, okay, permanent settlement had some huge defects, because that settlement was a 10-year settlement, and due to that permanent settlement is based on revenue, okay. To collect revenue, British government imposed permanent settlement mainly in Bengal part of areas. Okay, so that settlement has brought up some huge issues that peasants were not satisfied with. Jamindars were not satisfied with. It's if a jamindar cannot pay that revenue, his jamindari will be gone. Okay, if the jamindar cannot pay revenue of his village to the British government, his zamindari will be gone. Or many other things were also there. Cash crops were needed to be cultivated, indigo cultivation needed to be done. Indigo merchants imposed, that means they were bound to do indigo cultivation, and the places where indigo cultivation was done, it was done on the cost of rice cultivation. Okay, the places which were taken for indigo cultivation, suppose for example that places were for rice cultivation earlier, and the place where indigo will be cultivated, it is like, once indigo was cultivated, that land again is not suitable for rice cultivation, the fertility is gone. So that is why the farmers were dissatisfied, because indigo cultivation does not bring them that much money. The farmer does not bring the farmers that much money. Indigo was to be sent to England. It was in huge demand in England. The British merchants encouraged indigo cultivation. It was for them. Farmers almost lost their rights over the land. So Bengal Rent Act of 1859 was an act which gave the tenants their rights over the land. Okay, it protected the indigo farmers from the sway of the indigo merchants. Understood up to here? And another changes were also brought, let us see here, to improve the education system. Okay, one thing is that education system was tried to be improved. It was mainly to satisfy the British, or it was mainly for the smooth work of administration of the British. Okay, because they needed more Indian people in the administration to work for them, and to just because of that they wanted Indians to get educated in English, because English was introduced as the official language that time. So Wood's dispatch, I think we have studied this one in the class itself. Wood's dispatch, Charles Wood. Okay, he was sent to India and established an education department in each state under a secretary. Okay, to look after the education. And another thing is that, okay, this Charles Wood, okay, he was the president of board of control. Board of control, I have already explained uh, in the previous audio, that in a board of control will be there from the British government, which will look after the matters of India. Okay, so from that board of control, Charles Wood was the president, and he tried to create a class of civil servants. Understood? Civil servants means what? Those who will work for the government, civil servant. As today we have civil servants like IAS officer, IPS officer, those are civil servants, and many other, I'm just giving random examples. So he tried to create a class of civil servants, Charles Wood. So in order to create that civil servants, what is important, it is that uh, in people, or not students exactly, Indians need to be educated. Indians need to be educated in order to create this class, because in India during that time their education was not up to that extent. That uh, another activity of Lord Canning was that he wanted to bring changes in the army. Okay, now army will be a composite one. Composite one means he will appoint people from India of various castes. Now he will not see that only the higher caste people are getting appointment. He will appoint from various even races and religion. He even engaged European soldiers in the newly formed unit. It is called Composite Army. Earlier, when army was created in India, army under British was created in India, there were several things the British looked upon that earlier Indian society worked from the viewpoint of caste system and all. I think this I have explained in the class. Earlier in the British army also, when they needed to appoint Indians, they had to look after the appointment from this viewpoint that higher class people should get appointment. They had to look after it because in India, from since time immemorial, people of higher caste only got opportunities. Lower caste did not get opportunities. Okay, from all religion now, this composite army needed to be formed. Lord Canning now look after this. He mainly tried to appoint from this side that the people of lower caste, people of any races and religion, even European soldiers, everyone compositely will form the army of the British. So in the next part we have Indian Councils Act, okay, of 1861. What kind of changes were under this act, we will see. I think in the class I have already told to make a flow chart of the chapter in order to understand it properly. So while listening to, first of all you need to read the book entirely. That means as we have already completed the chapter, only 2 or 3 pages left, you need to read the chapter entirely and make a flowchart according to your own understanding. Make it according to your own understanding, but make it correctly, because whatever is in the book you need to look and state or write it each after each accordingly as it is in the book, so that when you understand it, you put a tick mark in the flowchart and just write a mini note, short note there, like in one line or in one word. Just note it whatever you have understood. So this will make your understanding clear, because so many acts are here. It will, you will get confused because so many acts are here, so many policies were introduced in. So not to get confused, you just make a flow chart. Okay, suppose for example after 1857 1858 act was introduced. So 1857, one arrow mark. 1858, 1858 government of India act 1858, again one arrow mark you will make. These are the changes, 1 2 3 4 changes, again another arrow mark. However it is possible, you make it in your own way. You can show it to me later if there is any facilities to do online sessions. So thank you so much. We are going to start Indian Council Act in the next audio class.